there's this prejudice that the mob is made up of kind of toothless hicks, stupid, uneducated, witless people who don't know their arse from their elbow, going around with their pitchforks. If you look at history, the mob, the hysteria, has tended to come from the upper echelons of society. It's tended to come from the supposed experts. It was the priestly elites who carried out the Inquisition. It's the academia today that is pushing the most crazy post-truth nonsense ideas. It's very often the educated sections of society who get sucked into these backward ways of thinking, these regressive ways of thinking, and whose ways of thinking have an incredibly destructive impact on community life, on children's bodies, on women's rights, on the sanctity of certain spaces. So I think reckoning with the graduate mob is actually one of the most essential tasks of our time, and really getting to understand how these people who look down upon us as post-truth, who look down upon us as stupid and uneducated and easy prey for demagogic forces, we need to turn it back on them and say, hold on, it's you people who have been subsumed by this irrational cult, who have abandoned the virtue of truth and embraced the ideology of unreason. It's you people who are doing that. And what's more, the way in which you're doing it is having a detrimental impact on people's lives and their bodies and their freedoms. So I think that's one of the great pressing tasks of our time, to push back on them and say, your hysteria is fucking things up.
And
we're
the
not
real
going to take it
fear
anymore.
is that children are getting indoctrinated this straight out of high school.
Yeah.
They're getting indoctrinated into this way of thinking straight out of high school without participating in the real world, and then they just get sucked into it, and then they go right out into these corporations and ruin them.
That's it.
And that's Bud Light.
Absolutely.
And that's where it came
absolutely.
from. It's just nonsense, and it's bizarre to watch it all take place in mass, not just in one very specific sector of the society, but everything, in all things, in the prisons. You're watching it everywhere. It's uber bizarre to watch.
And in corporations, it's insane. Capitalism loves identity politics. That's what I've come to realize. Especially capitalism loves transgenderism. If you look at during Pride Month, every single bank and hedge fund corporation flies the pride flag from their windows. Yeah. They all wear pronoun badges. It's a
demon with a sheep mask on.
It's crazy. And I often say when I meet young woke activists, I often say to them, listen, if you're so progressive, if you're so Marxist, if you're so radically left-wing, why do the owners of the means of production love your ideology so much? How have they been how have they co-opted it so easily?
Right, corporations are no longer evil.
And they will say, oh, it's pink washing. It's just them trying to disguise the terrible things they do by waving a pride flag. It's not that. It's something more profound. I think there is across the board in the corporate world, the political world, the academic world, there is this susceptibility to irrational thinking has grown up. And they are all becoming members of this really odd post-truth cult. And I think that's very worrying. But that comes back to our point about the democratic pushback against it, which I do think is happening. There is a populist sense of angst with all of this stuff. There are people out there saying, well, fuck you, I'm not going to buy Bud Light anymore. And I'm not going to vote for Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. And I'm not going to watch Saturday Night Live anymore. And I'm not going to go along with this stuff. I'm not going to sit back and watch as you denigrate my community, absolutely transform the meaning of words like man and woman and mother and father, and put forward these men in dresses and tell me that they're women. And if I refuse to believe you, that I'm some kind of antisocial bigot.
And you'll be fired.
And you're fired. I'm not going to put up with that anymore. So there is this, I think one of the reasons to be hopeful today is that there is a pushback against this stuff. And the more of that we can have, the better.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that was a fun conversation, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And tell everybody where they can find you, social media and all that stuff. Definitely don't read the comments.
Never read the comments. The main place you can find me is at Spiked online magazine, where I write. I'm the chief political writer. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Burnt Oak Boy, because I come from a part of London called Burnt Oak.
Oh, okay.
And you can listen to my podcast, The Brendan O'Neill Show, and Google me. You'll find me on Google.
All right. Beautiful. Thanks, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Bye, everybody.